Glencrutchery as Gell Claare.
William Altacher agus a Claare show, Claare na Gael. I'm Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to present this bilingual programme which is called Claare na Gael, with part of it in the English language as leis Pertgee Sahilg, and with part of it in the Manx Gaelic, Chinny na Mera, the mother tongue of Allen Banning, the Isle of Man. As Barach and Dutrish, the former Glencrutchery farmhouse had by the late 19th century become the residence of advocate and member of the House of Keys Richard Sherwood, until his death in 1883. Well, there's more in William Gell's 1906 poem, Man in Vegbeen, that we heard a bit of last week, to explain about Richard Sherwood. Ons tjaglam skielen verish na Breirich and Grimm, te sjaag mannen en koren er a wolde en chircheert, ljorish a choré garu, as a nageert, ljorish na megan duwege. As me saw genelled a ligas jage, gaus den voirox se geel. O moilje a solje de Annie Kissack, rai blina vaninen. Now the first song I ever heard Kurjan Kujak sing was this traditional song, beautifully and hauntingly arranged by Annie Kissack, RBV. Tauis Geesjach rish Radio Vanning, Stasiun en Asjun, Viskol er Skelia Maag by Doelish, Ellen Vanning. A wonderful arrangement by Annie Kissack, RBB, of Oren Glashton. Amalia Soilia, congratulations to Annie Kissack, Rai Blina Vannanen. We were looking at an Isle of Man Times article about Richard Sherwood, which A.W. Moore reproduced in 1902 in Manx Worthies. William Gell describes him as brave Sherwood of the bygone year, stout foeman in the legal tussle. Now, one of the legal tussles mentioned in the poem wasn't mentioned in the obituary of Richard Sherwood, and Gell refers to the adjustment of Port Erin debt with Daily Mail from O'er the Wet. Well, we begin with Port Erin, where a breakwater was mooted. At that time, money from taxes in the island went off to Westminster, and it was a job to get any back. And this was an occasion when Westminster agreed to loan money for a harbour improvement in the Isle of Man, but on the understanding that harbour dues would provide future income. Work commenced on the breakwater in 1864, and harbour dues were duly imposed in the island as well. In 1868, the not fully built breakwater was damaged in a storm, and in 1869, Governor Locke, Henry Broom Locke, got the grudging agreement of Tynwald to grant money to repair the damage and complete the work. Al trein denke leis bod all de chasna stiach sa tai kunta gereig arwege, tang olga shap as a channach a kelk, as liorishi a kelk, die in no bug a gerei. Treit he chit an ageert, gedde wel gerei wug egenish, ten a mannen en fagen na megen do ege, as de visok den een moda all de tonrish. Sent en moda all de golgus funnider, as they greid wel na megen ege gordit, as they shir a taste de we scale charu. Esh they golgus mullier, as they shir a ersen, de chor purt de vein na megen ege. Gen al de mulje arltach ag toiach der node wel is smunjen de wel a moda all de kerel genu giel de pecheniach. Ach, tan moda all de bagger der, de genaia manach wel e genu murte guller inch de. As van mulje goilarnes, René Mussen. As goilaal gamelisel is René Mussen, as genel shen nog salje gemaakt en acht te denia, te skielde grij. As nish henke mature traas geert, gus a Doris as René Kronkel. Now this is Breton singer Marthe Vassalot, and she sings Amon ag Aze.
Miso bivas en hiver ne pare mis ben coro. Pare mis ben coro, sira di fattore il oro, non notara, non nara, non ne ne trova da I faro. Ne trova da I faro, pa when I was en hiver ne me was on me swie. Me was on me swie, non belle tenti genti oro, non notara, non nara, non ne lo ne pissimo when dark. In luck, and the clever peignoir and douar, et bars au château, and the clever peignoir and douar. Oh, he veut deux dream maro, no, 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 nago content marvario. Oh, he veut deux dream maro, no, 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 nago content marvario.
From Brittany, that was Marthe Vassalot and the song Amont ag Aze, which means here and there. The flute player there was Jean-Michel Veillon, with Gilles Le Bigot on guitar. As Massart and Mordeholder Jitkus Taine Mannen and Riestach. Fossil G Fetchen, Delia Mordeholder, Tan Voirveen jou Jit de Valje, as die Chorlesh Riddenach son Kachtju Wijn Geel. Hoiach, salji macht on de megened, doet de mannen, de wod visvee ein, de velu de fear of voin ein na din. Wel, de wod visvee ein, velu de fear of voir ein na din. As hug geen de megenegger nunjig. As tre honneke de rauwet ben, wat de gulje rid gien de weekkaart. As doshel at de dorus. As treve choustai, honneke de nen mode oldervan, as wat aglit as hugged eber vollige het heen. Ren fairjou rai von woer. Ren na kost na stjachsel javi. En tras se naach. En gerre se chamber early. A chwegge se guppert. En sjachtu een sjachtu se gistje klag. Ach, renna mode olde fetten het ulju, as we overgeer gintjou, lug fair, renne slugge schiesad, ulju, ach een fair se, va follich se gistje klag. As mer so renna mode olde, lug de gedden of a giri, talkel rosh markus na lientien en glade. And by 1870 it was obvious that the harbour dues collected in the island weren't even going to pay for ongoing maintenance of the Port Erin breakwater, let alone pay for all the work that was necessary in completing it. Now, the Westminster Treasury considered it had been misled, and it said that the island should be liable for the money, although they did admit that legally the responsibility lay with Westminster itself. It was they that agreed to it, so they were liable for the full cost. But they said morally the cost should be borne by the island. And this was an argument that went on through the 1870s. And Richard Sherwood was a member of a committee presenting the island's case, and he went as one of a deputation for talks in London. Now that issue came at the same time as Richard Sherwood was complaining that there wasn't a Daily Mail carrying service under contract to bring mail to the island, Daily Mail from o'er the wet, as William Gell had it in his poem. Well, it was a time, of course, when another issue to be resolved at a time when the relationships with the Treasury in Westminster were difficult. Well, finally the matter was settled in 1879, and Richard Sherwood's role in that settlement is what William Gell is referring to here. Some music from Cornwall, and the bagpipe we heard there was the Cornish double-chanted bagpipe. The tune was called Cor Ello, and Ello refers to elm trees. Cor here may be from Corev, beer, so possibly elm beer. There is a beer made using elm seeds, which gives a nutty flavour, apparently.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Seo dat stasiwn na nasiwn radio fanning, si Claare na Gael vis verglaasn ag an treiton, mis Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Trúd inad ag a radio fanning de cair dut claasn na Claare seo a seacht an lug gigol scailiamach in Geert, lorish brewe craman eis ries, as rai enema Claare sarola. As me visu brewe craman podcasts for the Ugedden podcast, J. Claare na Gael, yes, ach de cair dut gul trúd an rai chéir de podcast ed, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Now, following the suicide of Richard Sherwood in the kitchen garden of Glencrutchery in 1883, the next resident there was Thomas Neen. Born in Andros in 1852, he went on to become an advocate. He was also interested in politics and in 1892 became member of the House of Keys for Glen Faber, but he resigned in 1895 because his legal practice took his time. He was appointed as captain of the parish of Onken in 1895, an office he held until his death in 1916. He became second Northern Deemster in 1899 and in 1900 first Deemster. In 1905 he became Clerk of the Rolls. As Deemster and Clerk of the Rolls he was ex officio member of the Legislative Council. Now, having mentioned Richard Sherwood as having lived at Glencrutchery, William Gell writes, "There now resides one just as keen. No better counsel have we seen than sturdy, honest Thomas Neen, a sterling and an upright judge, whom none can from his purpose budge, none will the highest honour grudge." Ren na móda all the cora hín the life o bilja úl, as Henk sa Wienersen. Charawe fod an a lug shen Henk a voir gaur backwein Geel, as o crane reert verroos na Suljanek, van dorst na chadu foslit de leen, va boer des care stoel ulju kout me geert, va just en brisht, as corlier des kluisha grepich wein javi. Renny shirras on the pechenek, a gerouwed regetten bol erbij. Gillie kach jaul jorish na enmen, a geren pecher bi fregert, der a henkie gus enem en sair. On sure te mish vumig, dilly correbeg, on sure se gistje klag. As me so renny koenelesh de chars na maag as, as Gili en acht van mode holde jit, is nie ulje na firelje. As voor die smunjen nacht, renny koos on kol na pechen wienek. 4 jaar as se treiesek, renny raweel maag as een taai, as a man en say Mary. As tre henkert stjaag se lini, on shen honneke de mode holde na life o bilje. There's no nicer young girl, that's what we hear now from Cachel O'Currain, but he sings it in Irish, Níl Callion o Nisjesha.
Der så bliver ingen en, så der ut mig, og give gile skjeng. Morsri brøsjule køy, en kvark mod amor jeg. A klønje meg scarchi, it Irish at the north. Lay hard it Irish the one, and lay go clantan last guido. We soon the Linra, we actually go to my dad. Not a cold way I keep falling, so I had bright for those. Oh, very long what lay, I was waiting, dry, most reading, and in high now, kiss to share, valiant time rise by dawn. Soon am I the rail ten, exile she wins the name. Snood a eyes that I to me, so light, chicky, is her mold rain. Not a hawk is through some powdery, so lay far the grass. Oh, drach we may no one lay, cause pulse may more dry. We soon the Linra, we actually go to my dad, but a hope we are to falling, so lay her dry for those. I was waiting, dry, was ready. Getting high now, push to share. Valiant time, rise, go down.
Cathal O'Corran on vocals and bouzouki, Kathleen Nirawan on concertina, and Kieran O'Mwini on fiddle, making up the trio The High Seas, and the song there was Neil Collin Nog Nisjesha. Van Maud Alder Strinúch, de Rauna Banglen en a Crow. Ich voir gaur de Gerelach, dag chow, as gawi taste che, de rauw riddenach chow stage in Gorbegge wa gleesige streppe. She banny me, Rennie Smunnion, vodde ge away, de wel na pechen bachte hem, Renee son a braste, fos bio. As Rennie cor a man and beg back as a tide, de redden pyre de ocean, snide as snai. Esh Rennie giara foslit korpe vode holde. As gelees wa ongiara gintek, mach lesje gewoon je vergene mannanen. As esh giara elje, as esh verluk ver en uljene she mannanen begge elje, limma mach, blio as ons slent waai. Son ons en jollese degge, van mitsjoer slugge shies at sledden maar bad. Kreeg het taatje zag we zo. Maar zo ren het geurtjige woor wie nokkes, ren het kor limmerach me giert, gur is taljeren ek banish. Nish, gingy kor les kius de klagen brauw kraai door te woor. Now, William Gell's poem Man in Beg Bean appeared in parts in the Isle of Man Times. When it was published in book form, each of the sections which had appeared in the newspaper now became a canto, and he flags up the end of Canto 4 with what we've seen is his usual reference to those setting up the press for the newspaper. But now the printer says, Reneg will now no more his patient's plague, but meet again at Bemahague. And at the start of Canto 5 he explores the background of how Bemahague came to be Government House. When Rushen in its glory shone, ere Douglas had in stature grown, it was the legislative zone. This is Rushen he's talking about. Court of the august powers that be, governor and self-elected key, controlled from thence the land and sea. But what time Douglas forged ahead, and Rushen's former prestige fled, the voice of reason plainly said, We're plodding in an awkward groove, our sense of fitness now to prove, we must these ancient courts remove. Now the title of this Welsh song is Cwm Hiraeth, which translates as something like Valley of Longing, but it's the name of an actual village in Carmarthenshire in southwest Wales. This is an old favourite by Heather Jones. Welsh singer Heather Jones singing about Cwm Hiraeth, written by fellow singer, and in fact he became her husband, Geraint Jarman, recorded for Recordiau Sain in 1972. I think the band was probably Mike Stevens' band, because Heather used to sing backup vocals with Mike Stevens' band at that time, and Geraint Jarman and Mike Stevens used to write songs together. We're hearing the words that William Gell attributes to the voice of reason, in seeing that it's awkward to have the government of the island based on Castletown, now that Douglas has become the commercial hub of the island. And the voice of reason continues here. "'Tis plainly manifest of late, we never shall be up to date while inconveniencing the state. No more we'll ride here cock-a-hoop to guide the craft from danger's loop. The captain's post is not the poop. For good look-out both fore and aft when danger menaces the craft. 'Tis folly thus to stand abaft." And so, according to William Gell, spoke the voice of reason, and as a result of this rational reflection, thus Russian reached, excuse the trope, the end of its controlling rope. 'Twas all paid out with Governor Hope. Now, Charles Hope was the Lieutenant Governor from 1845 to 1860, and with his wife Isabella, the one after whom the Laxey Wheel is named, and 5 children, he lived at Lawn House in Castletown. As eist dŵr dy fwyr gawr, nimmens lina chorpregel jou, chaus tein a lai na cadla. As me saw, rennad cwr leis pert jou, as sledden drisoru. As rennad korsjach sa jou staige, as renna voir chwele chotavi rish na rau fisseg beg. Tref a a ren na mod all de duster, as jirie, hog na klagen jou staige cor ersen genachten de rau pes fi voer ersen. As houds ve golgus a truan de you, rennad boelers klabberen en derrie nine jaelia. As me saw diemach, Greve is short am I genacht en tjaus daijim. Boele me grauwen de kraai. Krein acht henke lied sjorm. Shen va mannenen, nisht had vie glai. Me saw henke gusse truen. As renne krome schies de you. Ach ren de klagen trome leide schiese. Me saw hutje roos, as stjags en ustje. As ve bait. As tre honnig na sjaach mannen en begge, renned rai hugger. Composition by 3 superb Scottish musicians who played at Glencrutchery last year, Duncan Chisholm, Ross Ainsley and Hamish Napier. As I say, they co-composed The Razor's Edge from the Black Coolin album, although the Black Coolin is perhaps the concept of Duncan Chisholm because it's attributed to him, although all 3 are on it and all 3 composed the music.
Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn dyn ei sio, sian greu radio fanning. As je Claare na Gael wisgol sgelia mach, mer yn pyn, Robert gytyn corswell, Robert y corslach.
Have you heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Tan modd am all the marw, tan modd all the marw, diliad, as gawad lawan as rynnad dawnsen merish of oirach, uliw magit the wall. As sian ei, sian gera yn sgil sian machion y fod o olda as na siach mananan. As mas agus an asgil syl yor sio as sio emsich Juan Firniach. Tred yr aw fy sian rion, as lwg de chit de fe ching, smunny a des yn hun, sfi licliad yn ei sio malyabi vesh, uri tami malai. Esh dwrt ei, lig eim fe courage a Juan Firniach. Fy Juan Firniach is siarfent sen oelega, as fe enmysich sy'n ach sio, nod rawi hirweisiach y de Firniach ulion y lenega. Tra henke fagus den liavi dwrt yn rirish, Juan Firniach, tammy gennachten de wel a gera am tar na gera, as an ongerelem shen son me wach. Te fos acht na feitje beg eeg, as an el visegge de kinjach een nacht de rege nimmer geege. Charles Hope was succeeded as Lieutenant Governor by Francis Pigott. There was talk of finding land around Castletown to build a residence for the Lieutenant Governor at this time, but, of course, by this time as well, there was that strong feeling that the commercial importance of Douglas should make it the seat of government. And, in fact, Francis Pigott was of that opinion, so he wasn't in favour of having a house built for him in Castletown. He himself took a lease on the Villa Marina on Douglas Bay, although Tynwald was still meeting in Castletown at the time. He went, did Francis Pigott, to spend Christmas with family in Hampshire in December of 1862, but while he was there he suffered ill health, and in fact he went on to die on the last day of January in 1863. William Gell doesn't mention Francis Pigott in his poem, he goes on to his successor. Now, glancing backward through the years, behold where fame's great flag uprears, one name in golden sheen appears, who regulated for his flock the errant legislative clock, that soldier, statesman, Governor Locke. With courage, grace, and skill imbued, the noble course he had pursued, earned Manin's lasting gratitude. And now here a young soldier thinks of home, and his home is Saint-Paul-de-Léon in Finistère in northwest Brittany. On this recording, Suzanne Villas, perhaps Suzanne Villet plays piano, and Armand Haas sings Soudar Yoank Castel-Paul in a 1951 recording.
Castel-Paul est une migraine, au cœur sentait la Léon. O baret waren da, du daret, ses orruan es var alon. Anon is a skit, am bares ken Madame Hallon erbid. Me gar var la lauret vas dans les ailes. Me gar var la lauret vas dans les ailes. Ergulrik moradu da walri adadrem badan du aru. Avec arburlan pe bazudi, tolerer zel varan au-dessus. None is a seat, and none is a seat, our baris can Madame Hallon arbid. Mega bahula la oret bazur dans les ailes. Mega bahula la oret bazur dans les ailes. Wandur yukera dans les ailes. Berzondeis la wenne dreizon. On ilis bras ken brau giselet, zog viruan eis ernol bro. none is a seat, and none is a seat, and Boris can madam Galon Arbid. Mega Babuda Lauret Bazu Dante les aides. Mega Babuda Lauret Bazu Dante les aides. Bardour Greifer, Gwindre den Nuel, Maison d'Inglev et Alien, Arila Canon Abel, Castelli Carido Pareil. None is a seat, none is a seat, Arbaris and Madame Hallon Arbid. Mega barreuse à lauret bazour dans les aides. Mega barreuse à lauret bazour dans les aides.
A song of a young soldier from Castelpol, Sudar Yawank Castelpol. I was born in Castelpol, a blessed city in Leon. No parish can compare. I love my golden embankments and my jagged tower, a belt of sea bathes it. Our church is queen throughout the land. People of Saint Paul de Leon love your parish. And singing the lyrics there, we heard Armand Haas, and he was accompanied on piano by Suzanne Villiers. A recording, as I said, from 1951. The year before being appointed Lieutenant Governor, the 35-year-old Henry Broom Loch had married the 20-year-old Elizabeth Villiers. Now, a notable feature of what was to be the Loch Promenade was the large hotel at the foot of Victoria Street and on the Loch Promenade itself, and generally known as the Villiers Hotel. It was named that in honour of Loch's wife's family, and that's actually pronounced Villiers, even though there's an I in it. Elizabeth Villiers was an identical twin, and there's a suggestion that's been put about that Henry Broom Loch proposed to Elizabeth Villiers, mistaking her for her twin sister Edith. But then he refused to admit that he'd actually made a mistake. So he went on and he married Elizabeth Villiers instead of marrying twin sister Edith Villiers. Anyway, that's the story. As Lieutenant Governor, Loch took a lease on Bemahague, and that became the family home where Henry and Elizabeth's 3 children were born, the second of whom was given the second name Douglas. As Manavelu cor Gell den dau de insige on solune te de junu, as de de doltenach firnjach te, gebie eble dem de roene mechulien on she. Drege Jew and Firnjach, ha jinnum arach tregele. As nim shirweishach de Firnjach, de jinnum kolme vjoes. As doort en shaan rie, tammy gedden bes, as aidne mayem, as she orm. As haie de grey, lurke wesem, Seindut li jele through de kledden gastel, stjach ons uljene schemeren, as haaligen, as selleren, as selje gemaakt een taastjeren ten in lai ondou. Ach, en Seamus Jerry sa lout ljouwer, ongie ten a lai follet, a casles je ben frins a fles air, seindut gin selje gemaakt shende. De jinnach e fagen a casles shen, Jennach e tjalirach, tujem chwish ons graich a moer son, de jinnach e golmen nilu vain jaartje. Het na lug shen a son koraheen ons gowen moere. We return to Kurge and Kujak again now with another arrangement by Annie Kissack RBV of one of Annie's own songs, Gow and Bear Glass.
Skelge and blue, Norman and Lunsness
A song written and arranged by Annie Kissack, RBV, and there we heard Kurj and Kujach. Amolia Solia Rish, congratulations once again to Annie Kissack, RBV. Maar so, doeterie, sein dutch freilara de mai. As gouds hug Jew en Firrenjach a lauwege Henk en Shanri, de wei Kuhn, as Tarstach, hugge a chon a chlushag, as hure bes. Well, Muren gen skiel shaw force marn as gebi cared on Corkion a nachut nader. At the start of Henry Broomloch's tenure as Lieutenant Governor, the House of Keys was still self-electing. Loch wanted to get things done, but the British Treasury was unwilling to release funds until the House of Keys submitted to popular election. Legislation was passed in 1866 with the first popular elections from 1867. And Loch's term of office became one of considerable development, as we'll hear as noted by William Gell there. Cartalua Shene Rishist and Treyer Jit the Chorkion er Claare Shaw. You can enjoy 2 hours of the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening with Chris Pearson, who'll be with you from 7 to 9 o'clock. At 9, Judith Lay opens her virtual late-night listening lounge for her programme Sundown. We're closing Claare and Gael with a piece called Celtic Knots, written by Cornish musician, conductor, composer and arranger Gough Richards, who was for so many years the doyen of the brass band world. And of course the brass band world is celebrated too by Ian Cotcher in Time for Brass at 9 o'clock every Monday evening here on Manx Radio. As Masol Eshachiol Shaw Tashin Chitkus Jera Claare Cartnish. And so, until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve I'm a Chriort, as my Yerian Shedut.